I don't want to get DMCA'd, but there is a song that comes to mind when I think of this deity. I'm a survivor. You know which song I'm talking about. Oh, sorry. I should not be singing like I'm alone, because today I'm actually joined by the man who has become quite familiar with the deity that we are going to be covering today. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, mysterious stranger?
Hello. I am Jason, pretty much forever GM from Called Shots Entertainment.
So what's Called Shots Entertainment for those out there who've never heard of you?
Called Shots Entertainment is our little band of merry adventurers, as the phrase that likes to be bandied about. We are a group who are podcasters, reviewers, and such. Basically, mostly tied to Paizo stuff, but we do have some other stuff out there. Currently running is our Tyrant but Deadly show, which is a modification or conversion to Pathfinder 2nd edition of Tyrant's Grasp Adventure Path. And that's where all of today's information really comes from for us. Or for me, anyway.
Well, it's actually why I brought you here today, is because of that Tyrant but Deadly campaign. We're not going to cover spoilers in the adventure path, so don't worry there. Also, because we know that Kevin used it to metagame. Let's be real, Jason. I'm right.
Well, yeah, obviously. He is the mysterious 8th Rune Lord, Metamius Gamius.
All right, but seriously, though, we're going to cover the core elements of one of the deities presented in the adventure path, Arazni. We're going to do this so we can help game masters out there who want to incorporate Arazni into their games or setting. Does that sound good to you, Jason?
Sounds good to me.
The areas of concern for Arazni are the abused, dignity, and unwilling undeath. So the one that always stuck out to me when I had my first read through of Gods and Magic and saw unwilling undeath, and I was unfamiliar with Arazni, that one stuck out to me. Do you want to talk a little bit on that one, or do you want to just start at the abused then dignity?
I mean, I think that one is the keystone of it, really, honestly, because it's abuse and dignity. They are very clear things, but unwilling undeath kind of has its own stuff in there, because aside from liches and stuff, how many undead are really willing?
I mean, people could make the argument that a vampire spawn, or there's definitely vampire that have bit victims that don't die and are unwilling and stuff. But it's interesting enough. We don't. This is the only, I'm pretty sure it's the only deity that covers this area of concern. And it's definitely a strange one and very fun, or a really interesting pick for players who want to play, skeletons and, go with the vampire archetype and all that stuff. Now, it's a fun pick because there are some characters that maybe didn't go into undeath willingly. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from a PC standpoint, obviously things are different than NPC creatures. Mm-hmm. But even then, even with NPCs, still got to take those into account. In my mind, anyway, most of them are unwilling. But here's Arazni among, say, the ultimate unwilling undeath, mm-hmm. and despite everything there, and it probably not even necessarily consciously, she steps up as, one might say, their champion.
Yeah, for sure. You want to go ahead and cover our domains there, Jason?
Sure thing. The domains we have for Arazni are confidence, freedom, pain, and protection. And I'd say a lot of these come later on for her. The pain obviously has been there for quite a while. But
for sure.
And even confidence. She was always a confident person to begin with, but there was still something in her that allowed Geb to be able to talk her away from herself after transforming her and being able to pull her soul back. But with around the time of Tyrant's Grasp and all that, we learned a lot of stuff about it, trying to avoid spoilers here about her connection to things. And I think that is really when her confidence in herself starts coming back, and the desire for freedom really kicks in and puts her in overdrive. I mean, there's stories over the centuries where she's always tried to escape her wardens and all that, but it was kind of, maybe I'll get away this time, but now, like, get further on and it's like it's actually a thing she hungers for.
Mm-hmm.
She's not accepting her fate anymore.
I 100% agree. I think because I'll cover the alternate domain here in just a moment, but I think the confidence domain is one. First of all, is one that a lot of people don't ever consider, and I think they really should, depending on, or say, especially if their character is one that is overcoming a psychological or emotional, like they have some sort of psychological or emotional arc as part of their character's growth and backstory that I think should really be considered. A lot of people like freedom, and especially people, a lot of people that play Callistrian, clerics and all, like, go with pain and all that stuff. And protection is very common. But I think confidence is definitely a domain that needs to be reconsidered by a lot of players, especially if they're going to have a journey similar to Arazni's, or a journey where they have to learn to be confident in themselves and it's part of their character growth. I think should really consider this domain.
Yeah, it's definitely one, I'd say, more born from overcoming some struggles that said person has already been through. And I think in an unfortunate situation, depending on your view of how things go around a table or something like that, I think a lot of it comes down to the meta choice in a lot of cases. So it's like, okay, so now, I mean, confidence is still pretty powerful. You get the Veil of Confidence ability if you're, one of the clerics and all that, but stuff like that where you're able to bring the frightened condition down. That's huge. Frightened messes with a lot of stuff.
Frightens a meh condition. Come on. So I got a question for you. Would you ever consider giving, just because we're talking about how important domain spells are, would you ever consider giving a domain spell as an innate once per day for someone that has been through this journey and perhaps revered Arazni along the way that aren't a divine, like necessarily like a divine class or character, but are someone that is a devout follower?
Absolutely. Now this is about Arazni, so I don't want to go too in depth with it, but I've given a bard in our Tyrant but Deadly game a whole thing that doesn't exist anywhere in the game because of her devout following of Pharasma.
Good. Organa, OP.
Organa,
I'm just kidding. She's not OP.
Yeah.
I love Organa. I think Organa is wonderful.
I mean, but she's a bard, and they have their stuff, and basically what I created is a divine relic, we can call it. So it empowers as she levels up, and with it comes a how do you want to put it, proficiency with what it is, because she gets a scythe that she's able to just summon pretty much at will and uses it to destroy undead as per Pharasma's wishes.
Of course.
And
naturally,
bards do not have proficiency with scythes. So as I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, it's cool character stuff, but I don't want it to be just flavor. I want her to actually be able to use the weapon.
Sure.
So tied in with it, I have it set up that it will automatically grant proficiency equal to whatever the highest weapon proficiency is that the bard gets at any point. So it's always going to be amongst her top usable weapons in terms of proficiency. So I am all for granting things like that for situations, as long, for me anyway, as it's a story related thing. I'm not just going to give out powerful stuff just because. I'm all about the
flavor.
lore and the story and everything. So I'll definitely work with things like that. So something like this absolutely would do.
Yeah, so flavor into function is what you're saying.
Oh, completely.
Okay.
For sure.
All right, and the alternate domain we have here is sorrow, found in Gods and Magic. I definitely think this is another one of those domains that people kind of glance over, generally speaking. But again, granted, it didn't arrive until the Gods of Magic book, but Gods of Magic has been out well over a year now.
Mm-hmm.
The sorrow domain is, I would almost argue that if your character could not have both the confidence and sorrow domain, because like they're so dressed, like one would. How I put it, just I'd love to see a character that was confident that became sorrow, because like, adventurers see and endure a lot of things that would naturally make one not want to adventure because of the horrible things that happen along the way. Like I said, you could have the opposite kind of arc happen where someone who is overconfident and then realizes that adventuring is way harder than they thought it was and goes into sorrow. But of course, the one that most people are going to go with, which is fine, would be like sorrow into confidence. What are your thoughts on that?
I have to actually disagree. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. Speaking from some personal experience here, just take a look at people in the military. They exude confidence a lot of times because they have to, but 22 veterans a day commit suicide because they just can't put up the face anymore. And I think that's kind of the ultimate mixing of the two, honestly. Sometimes, and with them, it's just the sorrow just takes over. But even then, a lot of times they're still at least outwardly confident to the rest of the world right up until the end.
Okay. That's, as a veteran, I can definitely relate. I'm an Army vet. I don't know if I've ever had that discussion with you. I guess we're learning things today, even though that's not a typical topic that would come up at Gen Con, I guess. We're learning things. So no, I can.
Apologies for bringing it a little dark there.
No. It's not at all. I mean, we're talking about Arazni after all. And I think people actually want to hear those kind of. I'm actually glad that mental health is not such an eggshell thing anymore, like walking on eggshell kind of thing anymore. I think it's great that people talk about the importance of mental health and everything. So no, I actually, I'll say you have officially changed my mind. I will say that. I think I have to shift my perspective on that one. Very, very, very good perspective on that. All right, so you want to go ahead and bring us into edicts then?
The edicts, yes. Act with dignity. Do whatever it takes to survive. Despise and never forgive those who have hurt you. Now, some of these do seem a little at odds with each other. Because doing whatever it takes to survive can often lead to actions that are not really all that dignified.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously for, Arazni's case, she's undead. She doesn't need to eat necessarily, but there are people who have to like dig through other people's trash in order to find a meal. Not what one would typically call dignified. Yeah. But they got to do what they got to do.
I think a quick fix for this would be act with dignity whenever possible. Would fix this. Or as a slight reword might fix this, because doing whatever it takes to survive, I 100% agree. It's like, if you got to dig through the trash to make it to tomorrow, most people wouldn't really call that a dignified meal. Yeah, but despising and never forgiving those who have hurt you, I think this obviously fits in with the story, which so we don't want to go too far in depth with in terms of spoilers and all that. In terms of, because alignment, I know alignment's going away, but Arazni is not. Arazni is neutral evil. Let us not forget. So she is an evil deity, or what will now be called unholy. even though she kind of stands on the in-between of, what people consider lawful and chaotic acts, she does kind of have that in-between, or, in terms of people, it's clearly unholy, but people could understand where you're coming from. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think a lot of it is tied to the almost overwhelming rule, I guess we'll call it, that undead have to be evil all the time, which I know they've kind of phased away from that a little bit, but I mean, usually it's just like occasionally a ghost might not be evil or a certain spirit might not be evil, but even like everything else, a lot of times they're just automatically put as evil because they're undead. I think that's part of it. Now, despising and never forgiving someone, I can see as that being evil. But if you want to dig deeper too, Calistria is all about revenge and not forgiving people. She only goes as far as chaotic neutral. Mm-hmm. So she's got a neutral in her secondary tier versus a neutral in the first tier for Arazni. So I think it is the undead part that really pushes her in there. And I don't necessarily personally agree that it is, quote unquote evil to not forgive people who have absolutely shit on you.
Oh no. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, no. If that was the take, then no, that was not the intended takeaway of saying despise and never forgive is evil. If that's what came across, that's my apologies.
Oh no, I'm saying because they set her as evil, not you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah. No, I agree. Because that's the thing too is, like when it comes to playing undead characters, or characters who become undead, or I would say undead characters. We'll just start there. Even like in the, what was it? Is it Secrets of Magic or? No, the Book of the Dead. I'm sorry, the Book of the Dead. Playing a character who is powered by negative energy, which is pretty much all undead, save for a few very unique ones. It even says in the Book of the Dead, the primary reason that the undead don't like the living is because as you become infused, or as you become powered by, or as you are empowered by negative energy, it is a natural repulsion that you gain. Whether you gain it initially or it becomes more potent the longer you live or unlive, I guess. The longer you're around, it actually just becomes this natural repulsion that you have, like similar to like vampires' repulsion to garlic and stepping in holy places, etc. Like it actually is a thing. It almost just like unnaturally bothers you. But that's the thing, is that can also be left up to interpretation. My character is just strong-willed and like is doing everything in their power. Like, or you can say, hey, in game, I want to try to continue to fight this natural urge. GM could make you roll a will save, or however you want to handle that. I think there are many fun ways to deal with that instead of just saying, oh yeah, no, you're undead, you're evil, blah, blah, blah. I've always hated that myself as well.
Especially tied to the changes Paizo has made, namely to like goblins, because that's like the big one.
Oh, dude.
Second edition came out and they're starting ancestry now. Like it's like, all of it's like, hey, these are pillaging, burning, baby-eating arsonists and all that. Yeah. It's like, and for a decade, that's what these are. And they're like, oh, hey, you know what? Not anymore.
It's been 10 years. Yeah. They're good now. It's like, hold up. Not all of them, but some of them are good now. It's like, hold up, what? Yeah.
And obviously, that's something that can happen. But I think if it's that easy to flip that switch for goblins, why not undead also?
Yeah, I agree.
Especially because, as we pointed out earlier, I would say most of them are in their state of undeath unwillingly.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
some of them aren't even intelligent undead. They're just things that are being commanded. I don't understand why they would necessarily have to be evil.
Yeah, like Spawn.
You think that neutral as like a construct almost makes more sense to me in that case.
Or a minion, because like a lot of Spawn don't have the minion trait, but I'd actually put it up to the point where they are a minion, because they are, depending on which creatures we're talking about, but they are straight up commanded and cannot attack their creators or cannot come against them. Like that is like, you want to talk about unwilling, like, dude, like, that would be rough, man. Like, wow. But we'll go ahead and move it into anathema here. So what should be very obvious anathema is to create unwilling undead. Wow, that was a pretty easy plug and play there. And then the other one, which I think is hilarious because no other deity that I know of has this anathema, insult Arazni. It's like, well, that's kind of a no-brainer, but hey, in case you needed to know, don't insult the one you're following. So, that's pretty funny. Maybe she just takes it a bit more personally.
Well, I would say she's got the history to say why that would be a case. Not only because of how she became undead, but the whole reason she got put into that position anyway. Now, this isn't necessarily spoilers for the show because this happened hundreds of years ago, but she would have willingly gone to fight Tar-Baphon, and then they bound her to do it anyway. It's like, why don't you just ask? You're insulting your deity here. You're the word is slipping my mind. Your
herald?
Yeah, that works. Yeah, you're insulting your herald here by doing this. Like, this is what she's all about, and then you're binding her to do this for you. That's just a slap in the face. Agreed. So I think because of everything with her that put her in her current position and how her enemies and her supposed allies put her in there, I can see insulting her being anathema for her. It's like, it's your fault I'm like this. Because you chose to insult me. And that goes back to never forgiving.
Yep. It's almost coming full circle. So I added a creature section for this one because lesser deities or demigods and all that stuff in Gods and Magic don't really have a creature section in terms of like suggestions. So I had to challenge GM Jason's capabilities as a GM by adding this element and being an asshole. And so give me 2 to 3 thematic creatures that you would associate with Arazni, if whether they would ones that might fight alongside of her and why.
Now, the first one that instantly jumped to mind when you would put this up to me is going to sound a bit strange because it is undead, which is out there. Revenant.
Oh no, I can see why. I can see why. Driven by the ones that killed them to take vengeance.
Yeah, about vengeance. They have this just built-in self-loathing, and she hates what she's become versus what she used to be. So that was the first thing that jumped into mind with this. Like I said, strange considering undead, but I can definitely see that fitting between them.
Well, they were, like I said, like you even said, they were most likely unwilling undead, though. So they would definitely fight alongside her. And what else you got?
I also have Shikigami.
Oh, I'm not familiar. I think I've skimmed it once. So what is the Shikigami?
So Shikigami are listed as like the least powerful of all kami. They're basically little like spirits and all that. These ones are bound to protect certain areas by usually a more powerful spirit or deity, and they're minor spirits, but like I said, they're bound in places to help protect areas, and depending on how things go, they also aren't necessarily all that hyped up about humanoids, and depending on where they live and the civilization they're in. So they will fight to protect the areas that they are. But if the locals in that area start mistreating them, they'll be like, nah, peace, and just leave.
They'll just dip
and take this, and take the stuff that they're protecting with them.
Oh, that's awesome. So that actually goes on the insulting stick. I love that. That's super cool. See, I knew I could depend on you, man. And you got anything else in there over hiding over there, Jason?
I've got two-ish more. One I'm a little iffy on. The unicorn, because they represent a purity, and they're kind of unicorns are kind of aloof to society, and humanoids, you got to be trusted for who they go to. But that's more. I'm iffy on that one. But one I'm not as iffy on are silver dragons.
Oh, I love silver dragons. One of my players in my Age of Ashes campaign before, unfortunately, he had to go. He made it through book 2 out of 6, but unfortunately, his life became way too busy. He got a big promotion at work, and he was actually. I brought him back as an NPC later on, but he was playing a silver draconic or draconic silver, however you want to say that. But I love silver dragons thematically because they actually do stand out much different than the other one.
Yeah, they're, I'd say among all the dragon kind of they're the ones that are least about I'm so high above you, look at me, I'm so special. Like, well, they know they are, but they're about righteousness and getting rid of evil and protecting things, helping the weak. That just kind of, for me, ties in with Arazni.
Mm-hmm. Well, that and like a lot of people don't realize it until they let's say they're newer to running Pathfinder, and they're like, oh, dragons. Well, silver's cool because, blah, blah, blah. And they go to look at the spell list, and it makes me laugh every time because they're also the only dragon that uses a divine spell list. Because they're like, wait, where's all their damage? And, where's all the damage spells? I'm like, they're divine. They're the only divine spellcaster. They don't use arcane. So they're even unique in that light. So I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, that covers my list of creatures there. Hopefully they match up to your challenge.
No, I definitely say I can't believe I didn't put Revenant together. That's such a shoe-in. I was like, yeah, no, duh. As soon as you said it, I was like, I should have thought of that. But the Shikigami, I'm going to give you mad props for the Shikigami. That is awesome response. And those are from Bestiary 3. Okay, Bestiary 3. I was looking it up while we were doing this recording. Yeah, so very interesting. I've never done too much with the Kami, although I definitely need to. How to say this? I'm definitely looking forward to the Tianxia content because I love the Japanese and Chinese and Southeastern Asian mythology lore and all urban legends and stuff, which is pretty much Tianxia in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. So I can't wait to start opening up more of that kind of content or exploring that kind of content. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, and it'll be strange trying to bring it in after the fact, but got at least one character in Tyrant Deadly who hails from that region, so being able to have more back matter to use for him would be extremely helpful.
Oh yeah, because it's not that they didn't was it the Jade Empire in first
Jade
edition?
Regent?
Yeah, the Jade Regent, and it has a huge it has a back matter, or is it back matter, or so like that? I guess we call it the back matter of I think it's book 2 of Jade Regent that goes into the Jade Empire, and it has a decent amount of information, but because again it's just not utilized a lot it wasn't utilized a lot in first edition. I'm so happy to see that they're going to be going Absalom level of depth with Tianxia. I'm super excited for that.
Same.
No, Jason, but bringing it back, I would definitely say you have risen and defeated the what I call, I guess, severe encounter that was my challenge to you. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to thank you for joining me today in helping others with understanding Arazni the Unyielding. And I definitely feel like she's earned that title. What do you think?
I absolutely agree. And I mean, Tyrant's Grasp was the end of the first edition. It brought that about into second edition. There hasn't been a whole lot about her since. I'd really love more information to see what happens after. Like, the thing says now that she's like, no one knows quite where she is. Obviously, she's granting powers to somebody, but I don't want them to just leave her by the wayside. She's gone through such a change, and her story is so huge. It feels a little wasteful if it's just never brought up again, personally.
Yeah, it feels like cliffhanger, and there would be nothing more dissatisfying than just leaving it on a cliffhanger, you know?
Yeah.
Well, we hope that this helps anyone out there who is looking for inspiration or just a different perspective on Arazni in general. Be sure to check out GM Jason's podcast called Shots Entertainment. There will be a link below. And I'll also be giving him this audio so he can put this on his podcast feed as well. So whether you're listening, watching on YouTube, hit the like, heart button, or whatever you can do to show some love. Chat with me or Jason in the comments below, in his Discord, my Discord, and we'll catch you all next time.
Peace.